1. Subnormal. And this is where the quiet slide begins for a Gen X guy, the absolute bottom of the ladder where adaptation stops completely. Operating way past their prime survival baseline, they are mentally locked in an analog era. This usually happens after decades of pushing away every digital shift, refusing to learn, or isolating themselves until the modern world just leaves them behind. They struggle hard with basic digital survival. Simple things like paying a utility bill online, using a modern phone interface, or handling basic paperwork become massive roadblocks. They end up needing family members just to handle basic admin tasks. Their daily life is purely reactive. They don't care about logic or app interfaces. They react to old-school manual grit and tone of voice. Yet, their gut feeling is still sharp. They can instantly smell fake respect, anger, or frustration in people around them. While they can never keep up with a fast-moving modern workspace on their own, their loyalty to old friends and deep bonds with family remain rock solid, even if they don't say it out loud. Modern life moves fast, but for these men, it feels like permanent alienation. Yet, with a bit of patience, clear structure, and respect from their kids or partners, even those totally left behind can find a quiet, grounded dignity in their daily routine. 2. Below average. This is the group of Gen X men who manage to survive on their own, but hit a massive wall the moment a situation demands complex strategy or modern abstract thinking. Their operational baseline sits right at the lower edge of practical survival. They completely zone out when it comes to financial planning, tech tools, or corporate theories. They don't learn from manuals or online courses. They only figure things out through hard repetition, physical labor, or hands-on trial and error. They thrive best in fixed, predictable routines, doing trade work, driving, small shop management, or jobs with straightforward physical tasks where the rules don't change every single day. While they lack formal corporate credentials, these guys usually possess sharp street smarts and practical street-level skills. Socially, they are straight-talking, fiercely loyal, and know how to read people face-to-face. This group is constantly underestimated in a fast-moving, high-tech world. But give them a clear space, and they run solid households, raise families, and anchor their local communities. They win respect not for what they fail at, but for what they physically get done with their own hands. 3. Average. This is where most Gen X men live, and almost none of them believe they are here. Average survival intelligence lets you pay bills, hold down a standard job, raise kids, follow social rules, and manage basic life routines. You understand cause and effect, plan a budget, and learn from everyday mistakes. It's the zone of predictable routines, family responsibilities, and standard problem solving. You know what needs to be fixed around the house, and you get it done. Mid-level managers, small business owners, technicians, bank officers, they are all sitting right here. The modern economy doesn't run without this tier. It is stable, functional, and just enough to keep society moving forward without breaking down. But here is the major trap. This level feels like a permanent ceiling. These men are smart enough to think they've figured life out, but comfortable enough to ignore their blind spots. They confuse being stubborn with being right, and they stopped asking deeper questions years ago, simply because their routine just works. This tier is completely stable, but it's sticky. It traps the highest number of Gen X men, not because they lack capability, but because comfort kills the urge to ever try anything new. 4. Above average. This is where a Gen X man's thinking speed kicks into a higher gear. You don't just process information slowly, you connect dots instantly. You spot market shifts, corporate politics, or family financial pitfalls long before anyone else even realizes a problem is brewing. Traditional corporate hierarchies or standard jobs probably felt painfully slow and bureaucratic. Conversations with average peers often feel like waiting in a long line. These men naturally excel in strategic planning, tech integration, engineering, or complex operations. They love systems, puzzles, and untangling messy problems. But this level carries a hidden shadow. You catch on to incompetence and impending failures way too early. You end up talking less in meetings because you are constantly editing yourself mid-sentence just to keep the peace and avoid sounding arrogant. This breeds constant midlife frustration, not because people around you lack capability, but because they move too slow to keep up with your pace. And if you aren't careful, this sharp edge turns into emotional detachment. You float entirely above the daily noise, but slowly forget how to genuinely connect with the people around you. 5. Superior. This is rare air for a Gen X man. Guys at this level don't just solve problems. They build entirely new frameworks, shatter outdated corporate consensus, and juggle multiple complex business or technological systems without breaking a sweat. They usually operate as senior industry leaders, elite technical directors, high-level strategists, or independent founders. They don't just see the workflow. They see the entire economic matrix and understand the hidden rules governing markets long before they shift. Yet, operating at this level feels like living on an isolated island. The higher a Gen X man climbs professionally and intellectually, the thinner the air gets, and the harder it is to find anyone who genuinely understands his vision or shares his burden. Deep loneliness becomes the direct tax of this level of capability. You aren't just occasionally misunderstood. You are completely unplaceable in standard social circles. You don't fit into conventional boxes anymore, which forces you to build your own reality from scratch, often at a heavy personal cost. 6. Gifted. This is the genius tier for a Gen X man. Minds that operate at a level most people can't even visualize. These are the rare visionaries, industry-shifting founders, and foundational thinkers who completely rewrite how an entire generation operates. They turn complex, chaotic market realities into clear, unstoppable roadmaps. They build movements, solve seemingly impossible structural collapses, and spot macro shifts decades before they land. But this level of brilliance carries a heavy, devastating toll: total psychological alienation. The bridge between their hyper-focused mind and ordinary human life often burns down completely, leaving them entirely cut off from the world they are trying to fix. They live entirely inside a world of their own design, carrying a heavy burden of foresight that no one else around them can even touch. Brilliant, unmatched, and completely alone at the top of the ladder.